those jerks like who I look at sometimes and think, man. So it's impossible to say. You like those what if questions. So. I wish I knew. But all I can say is I'm kind of happy with the way things turned out. So it's a good question, and you know, the question was being around three people who were drug affiliated and gang affiliated that I ever experienced with drugs, and I have to say the answer is honestly no. When I was younger, I experienced it with marijuana a little bit, because so many people in college were doing it. But I have to say, in all honesty, I never found it to be something that I enjoyed. I never needed, like, I was, it may sound corny, but like I actually really enjoy and get such a high out of just living life. I enjoy life so much, I feel like I don't need any extra thing to make me enjoy it more. You know, the things that bring me happiness are things like this, spending time with friends, you know, going to a fun event or a theatrical event or even a Blazer game. These things bring me joy. I don't really need any other kind of thing to give me another level of enjoyment or you know, distortion of my life. I know a lot of writers will tell you they need like drugs or marijuana to help them write. I've never felt that. I find inspiration from and enjoyment from just the life I lead as a sober person. So I never experimented with anything higher than marijuana, and that I cut out like 15 years ago. Although people think because I have dreads. I get asked all the time if I want to buy or if I have any to sell. It happens in every state I've lived in. It happens in every country I visit. I've been in Japan and had people walk up to me on the street and say, "Hey, you got any, you know, weed to sell?" Or, you know, I've been in Russia and had people ask me if I wanted to buy or sell. It's an amazing thing. But no, I've never been involved in it myself. Yes. Would I go back to New York? I have, in fact. I've been back several times. And it's funny you should ask that because for a long time, I didn't go back to the street that this shooting happened on. It wasn't that I was afraid of the street, or it wasn't that I was scared of it or anything. It just, for some reason, the idea of going back to that street felt weird to me. And then when I got the idea to write this book a few years ago, I said to myself, okay, if you're going to do this, you have to go back to where it all began and really just see what that's like. And so it wasn't until a few years ago, I've been to New York about 10 times since the accident, but never went back to that street. But I actually went back with one of my best friends today, and we visited the street, we took pictures of where it happened, and it was kind of fascinating to be back on that street and think, wow, you know, about 30 years ago you were standing here and this happened to you. And now, like I said, the neighborhood looks totally different. It's no longer like, I mean, it's still a kind of a poorer neighborhood in New York, but now like lots of New York University students have moved into the area. Gentrification has totally changed it. What used to be like crack dens and little dangerous street corners is now like a nice cafe there and bars for college kids and stuff. So it's a very different atmosphere from what I grew up in. But yeah, I've been back to New York several times, but just got back to where it happened about 4 years ago. Yes?
From the time when the accident first happened and now, how did you cope with seeing people walk every day and knowing you again?
Yeah, you know, so it's a good question. The question was, how did I cope with seeing other people walk around knowing that I was never going to walk again after the accident? And I'll be honest with you, at first it wasn't easy. And I think the thing that was hardest was, like I said, when my friends would come to the hospital and they would visit me and I'd be laying there in bed, barely able to move, and then they would say things like, all right, we're going to go play basketball, or we're going to go, you know, we have auditions for the school production of West Side Story or whatnot. That's when I would be like, wow, man, they're going to lead these lives that I wish I could go back to. But you know, I was never really depressed about it, I have to say. I never let myself get too depressed or feel too down. I was lucky. Like I said, I had all these loving people in the hospital. I had therapists. I also saw a mental health therapist who often processed this stuff with me, and I hated it. It's funny, I thought, why am I sitting here talking to this person for this, you know, and I wasn't one who liked to talk about my feelings, and my therapist wanted me to talk about my feelings, and I thought, man, this is such a drag. I'd rather be in my room watching all my children. You know, I had all these people around me who were constantly not letting me be too down on myself, who were constantly reminding me that I had a lot to live for. So it wasn't so hard, especially, you know, after a while, I began to realize, you know what, yeah, I'm not going to walk around like these people, but I'm still going to lead a good life. So I didn't really spend a lot of time being jealous or being envious, but every now and then I would see my friends, you know, they'd be going to a party or something, and I'd be like, wow, I'm not going to be able to go to that party because it's up 20 flights of stairs and there's no elevator or something. And it was a bummer, but I realized early on that that was just part of life I had to accept. Yes, you way in the back.
Thank you. What brought and kept you important?
So great question. So what brought and kept me in Portland? First, I moved to Eugene, actually. I had some dear friends in Eugene, and there was a job for me in Eugene working with a company for people with disabilities to travel to other countries. There was a company that was a nonprofit, and I got a job with them, and I liked it a lot, and I really liked Eugene a lot. But I don't know if any of you have been to Eugene or passed through it. What is it? Go Ducks? Yeah, go Ducks. But it's a wonderful town, but it's also a very small town. And coming from New York, I wanted more diversity. I wanted to be around more people of color. I wanted to be around like more museums and theaters and stuff. And I realized that Portland had that. But a couple times I had visited here. And so it was a very easy choice for me to come to Portland. And I'm not one who minds the rain at all. I don't care about the gray skies. I actually really like it, actually. It helps as a writer to have these kind of gray skies. I lived in LA for a year, and it was sunny every day, and I found it boring to have sun every single day. So I decided Portland was a place for me, and I still love it. I really enjoy it. In a way, I kind of wish I had even more diversity and stuff still, though. Like a place like maybe like a Seattle or San Francisco, I find fascinating. But I do love Portland. One thing I love about Portland is that I can get around freely on my own. It's flat. San Francisco is very hilly. And also there's great mass transit. So I can get around on the streetcar, on the MAX. I don't have to drive everywhere. I mean, I do drive, but I really appreciate not having to drive everywhere. So I love Portland. I really do. And I've been here close to 2 years now, and you know, think I would like to live out the rest of my life in a place like this. Yes.
So, do you think that maybe the reason that your friends went to into all the drugs and stuff is maybe because of the trauma they felt after your accident?
So the question is, do I think that a lot of my friends went into like drugs and got involved in drugs because of the trauma they felt after my accident? Which is a great question. I've never had the chance to ask them about it or talk to them about it. I have a feeling, though, from what little I know, that it was a lot more than just what happened to me. Like, I think the reality is that what happened to me was difficult for them. It was hard for them to process. But they went on with their lives, you know. They went on and did other things. They didn't spend, I don't think, a lot of time thinking about me. I think they moved on, and just, it was kind of a natural place. A lot of our friends got